You conquered another game, a long day, a job well done, and the final work call. Wear your place. Come as you are and fit in comfortably. Mr. Mike's. Eat locally, enjoy casually.
Stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on,
every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance,
Pushing limits.
Seizing victory.
when victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
When it comes to the game we love, having the right gear makes all the difference.
Gold Line's new curling shoes and brooms are a game changer.
The shoes, unbelievably comfortable.
And the brooms, lightweight and effective, giving you control on every sweep.
When I step onto the ice, I'm not just prepared, I look sharp.
Have you seen these shoes? They are a game changer.
And the brooms? Light as a feather.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
It has happened where people just haven't noticed and they've run out of time. I'm like, sounds good. Oh, overcooked it a bit. Jeez.
Clean! Keep going, ET!
Keep going! Keep going! Keep going! Keep going! Keep going! Keep going!
-1,000 flash will win apres curl.
Oh, they're really sweeping this, boys.
They're
really sweeping this. Oh, boy, you can't give up a steal here.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, nice shot from Kate.
But here we go, it's happening.
Yeah, draw for the win for Rylan Kleider. Needs a piece of the forefoot. He's been really good all game. Trevor Johnson on this one here.
Can't hear yet for line ever.
No, they like
good.
line. Now does it have the speed? They like the line. Does it have the speed? They're going hard for line. You have to get by this top yellow. Trevor Johnson leaning on it. He's by it. Now does it stop in time? Has to stop in time. What a shot from Rylan Kleider. We thought it was maybe the hardest option up from the booth, but that's why we're not down there.
A long day, a job well done, and the final work call. Wear your place. Come as you are and fit in comfortably. Mr. Mike's. Eat locally, enjoy casually.
Stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
and when the pressure's on,
every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance,
pushing limits,
seizing victory.
When victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
Last draw.
Yep.
8th in. From the tie to Isabel Verano.
Speaking of bars, immediately after this draw, it's happy hour at Bray Pearl, just across the Penway in the Convention Center. Live music from Pierce Clark and friends. And he'll be on stage playing all your favorites, so go on over. Here's some tunes, have a drink between draws. There's also food over there as well. So if you want to have a bite, have a drink, enjoy yourself, you can do so. Also, we want to encourage you to visit the Rock Shop, pick up your merchandise. It's at this end on level 1. It's been busy in there, so get your merchandise before it runs out. One last announcement, be sure to pick up a 50-50 ticket to support junior curling in Newfoundland and Labrador and give yourself a chance to win, as the pots have been huge. But we're here for the curling. So let's meet the teams here in draw 6, starting on sheet A. First up, throwing the Yellow Rocks, coming in with a record of 1-0, curling out of Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, Team Their opponents throwing the Red Rocks, coming in with an 0-1 record from Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, Team Black. And on sheet B, first up, throwing the Yellow Rocks, coming in with an 0-1 record from Geneva, Switzerland, Team Schwaller. Their opponents throwing the Red Rocks, coming in with an 0-1 record from Fusen, Germany, Team Muskatitz. And on sheet C, first up, throwing the Red Rocks, coming in with a 1-0 record, curling out of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, Team McEwen. And throwing the Yellow Rocks with an 0-1 record from Gladys, Switzerland, Team Hosesli. And on sheet D, first up, throwing the Yellow Rocks, coming in with a 1-0 record, curling out of Stirling, Scotland, Team White. And the Red Rocks coming in with an 0-1 record, curling out of Bern, Switzerland, Team Bruno. Fans, we encourage you to cheer as loud as you want when you want, but please, no flash photography. Games will begin momentarily. Good luck to all, and good curling.
Hello, curling fans, and welcome inside the Mary Brown Center here in beautiful St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador for continuing coverage of the Grand Slam of Curling's Coyote National. It is the second draw for these two teams. Mike McEwen up against Marco Hosesli. John Cullen here with you, and pleased to be joined by 7-time world champion, Olympic gold medalist, Nicholas Sedin. And Nicholas, two teams here looking for a big second win for Mike McEwen, trying to get a win on the board for Hosesli. Should be a great game here this afternoon.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll be really interested to see how Hosesli will get off the gates. They've been really good this year, and for a couple of years, actually. They're kind of making the next step into the very elite level on the men's side.
Yeah, and they've had a very busy schedule. You're looking at the world number 8 in Mike McEwen against the world number 11 in Team Hosesli. And yeah, they've had a fantastic year so far. 2 wins on the season. You might be familiar with one of those wins as they beat you in the final of the Oslo Cup. They also had a final recently in Sault Ste. Marie. They've been in a couple semifinals. They've only had 2 spiels all year long where they didn't qualify. And, you know, that's a great way to find your way into the slams and to stay in the slams once you get there.
Yeah, definitely so. And one to look out for in that team is the last rock thrower. He can really make a ton of shots on you. And Mike is going to have to play as good as he normally does. But it will be a very interesting game with 2 really hot skips.
Yeah, so here you have Team Hosesli up on the screen right now from Glarus, Switzerland. You've got the skip who throws 3rd stones, Marco Hosesli. The 4th is Philip Hosesli. 2nd is Simon Glor. And lead is Justin Hauser. And across the sheet from them, from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, it's Team McEwen. Mike McEwen throwing the last rock. Colton Flash at 3rd. And then the twins, Kevin and Dan Marsh, at 2nd and lead, respectively, as we get underway here on this fine afternoon in St. John's. And Nicholas, this, you know, I was talking about this with a few of the European curlers so far this week. You know, obviously for you guys coming to St. John's, playing in front of 7,000 people, it's got to be quite a charge for you guys, quite electric. And not that Canadian curlers do it all the time either, but pretty special atmosphere here in St. John's this week.
Yeah, it's a big difference from Europeans last week. We might have had 30 people watching, so pretty big difference. But I think, this European team in Hosesli, they weren't at the Europeans, so I think maybe a little bit of an easier transition for them than, say, us and Schwaller, Mauat, Muskatowicz coming straight from that Europeans. A very quick turnaround, only basically 1 day after a long travel to change it. But I think Hosesli, they are ready to go.
So maybe a little bit of an interesting call here as we see Mike McEwen draw to the wing in the first end. We're not seeing too many teams do that so far.
Oh, that is definitely not a tactics I've seen from Mike too many times.
Yeah.
He's usually very offensive in his strategy, but interesting mix-up.
Yeah, what do you think the reason for that would be? Just trying to get a feel for the ice here?
Yeah, I guess so. Early on in both the event and in this game, just try to keep control, keep the hammer to the second end, I guess. But drawing the wing is still kind of an odd move, in my opinion. You can achieve the same thing by coming around, but then the chances of actually getting 2 if the other team misses increases as well. So different strategies, but we've seen a couple of teams use it, actually. So Jacobs used it against us yesterday.
Well, we know that in Team Jacobs' case, they tend to like to play a little more defensively, so maybe a little less surprising out of them. But yeah, as you said, McEwen, we generally see play aggressive. I have heard from some of the curlers, and obviously I've been here watching some of the games too. Ice has been a little tricky so far, fair to say?
Yeah, I think that the tricky thing is that you can't really see it on the screen. I think the feel doesn't quite match kind of what's happening. Like the amount of curl and the hog-to-hog split times, they look really good, but then the feel is more aggressive in your hand. So if you got a soft release, it's going to take off, and if you do too much, it's going to run pretty straight. So it's, in my opinion, it was kind of tricky to find the right technique to use on this ice. It feels a little strange. It feels like it would curl 2 feet more than it actually does.
So a hit and roll attempt here for Simon Glor, and that's pretty well made. It is behind the tee line, though. But I think we're going to see a chase. I think that guard's high enough here for Kevin Marsh.
Now this is the tricky spot. Do you leave that center just rolling to the wing? If they ever roll out, that center is just in the perfect spot for Hosesli. I think some other teams, you might also see some take a crack at the double or just getting rid of that guard first because the shot rock is behind the tee line. If they can make the chase and roll away, that's still good also. But in this case, didn't roll quite far enough, and now they can basically roll to the button and the guard is in the perfect spot. So a little advantage Hosesli so far in this end.
So Simon Glore looking for the hit and roll here.
Very nicely controlled, makes the perfect roll, and this is a promising start. They've made a couple of rolls already in the first end when the ice is a little bit fresh. You play to the middle usually in the practice, so kind of making those rolls on the 4-foot line is not super easy in the first end, but they've made it look easy.
Yeah, I like the touch there from Glore. It kind of felt like a made shot right out of the hand. The sweepers controlled it really well, and yeah, we'll see if Kevin Marsh can match it here.
Clean. He's rolling good.
So the chase is there, Nicholas, I guess, with where that guard is, because that was almost perfectly buried, and they got to it no problem.
Yeah, at the same time, he had to come fairly close to the guard. Made a really great shot there. He was probably within 2 inches from that guard, and if you ever just nick it ever so slightly or hit the shot rock thin, you're in big trouble. So he had to make a great shot there, but when he does, they're kind of out of trouble for this end now.
Still finishes though with that nice.
Yeah, we could be heading to my favorite place, Blanksville.
I don't go there too often, but
I was gonna say I never see you there.
No, maybe I should though. After that first loss, giving up a 3-pointer, it's better to go to Blankville for sure.
Yeah, I've heard some. There were some complaints about your strategy yesterday, throwing a guard in the 4th end. I didn't see the game. I'm hearing whispers.
Yeah, and that was definitely one we thought about a few different options there. The center guard that was left in play was just so high and kind of against that team. Do you make a move? When you do and they make the perfect come around, you look silly. At the same time, you got to take the chance at some point against these teams. So.
Well, you're going to get your first look at Blanksville, my friend, I think.
Yeah, it looks like a lonely place.
It's not that lonely. Team Jacobs is there a lot. I spend a lot of time with them over there. Team Guju, actually, not afraid to be there either.
Yeah, you just won't find any rocks there.
No, there's no rocks. It's very desolate, very desert-like conditions. So I'm curious now that we are heading for the blank end. You know, one thing you talked about off the top of the broadcast was really looking out for Marco Hosesli. And, I'm curious, you guys have obviously played them probably more than we've seen them as a Canadian curling audience. What do you like so much about his game as a 4th rock thrower?
I think it's kind of the overall touch and understanding of the game. Like, technically, it doesn't look quite as fluid as like Mike McEwen has got a great tuck delivery. It looks very smooth. It's not quite that type of technique, but he makes a ton of shots. It looks kind of rough on the eye, but he makes every shot look easy. And yeah, it just has to have like a good feel overall, kind of a hand-eye coordination, just a good curler generally.
So we'll get a look at that technique right now here as Philip Hosesli settles in for his first shot of the first end. And I think, one thing we know over the years, we've seen so many champions with so many different slides. There's no one correct way to do it. I'm sure, maybe at some point it would have been a coach saying, maybe we do it a different way. But at some point you just go, well, you know what? If it's working, it's working.
Same way as you. It's all board.
No. Kui has the best slide. Not going to lie.
Fair. Yeah, that's your top guy, Kevin Kui.
At least it used to be.
Yeah.
I guess there are quite a lot out there these days that have really good deliveries and perfect form on the ice. It's kind of like golf that way, I think. You would see a lot more different techniques 10, 15 years ago. Now they all kind of start throwing the same way or hitting the same way in that sport. So there definitely are better techniques than others. I think at the end of the day, you're trying to be consistent. Going kind of on a straight line, straight behind the rock towards target is long term gonna make more shots for you.
So last rock here for Philip Hosesli. Justin House there trying to bring this over. You don't want to give McEwen the free blank, and indeed they won't. So he will have to throw a hit here. Make this Yellowstone go away. So final rock in the first end for Mike McEwen, a blank attempt. Nothing at all from Marsh and Flash. And no problem there for Mike McEwen, so we'll throw a couple zeros up on the board, and we'll see you back here in a minute.
Yeah. I just baby faded it, but it actually goes out a long time. Yeah. Good shot. Good job, boys.
When it comes to the game we love, having the right gear makes all the difference.
Gold Line's new curling shoes and brooms are a game changer.
The shoes, unbelievably comfortable.
And the brooms, lightweight and effective, giving you control on every sweep.
When I step onto the ice, I'm not just prepared, I look sharp.
Have you seen these shoes? They are a game changer.
And the brooms, light as a feather.
It's a Gold Line.
It's a Gold Line.
It's a Gold Line.
And is the choice of champions.
Sure. Throw on for part of the night. I noticed at the other game, first time you can make their own. And Benny said, to pick cards. Actually, you just over. Just look what happened to them. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see here, Nicholas, if Mike McEwen decides to dance a little more here as he drew the wing in the first end, and we'll see if this is a corner guard or a draw to the wing. I'm guessing it'll be a corner guard here, but we'll see in a second.
Otherwise, I'm going to talk to Mike after this game.
I commentate one game all day, and that's what you give me?
Yeah. I might throw too many guards, but if he throws this in the rings, it's definitely not enough guards.
No, it does look like here they are throwing the guard, and Mike McEwen does once again have the hat cam on for us. So we will have some hat cam angles for you throughout the game as we're experimenting with some new camera angles here. And I have to say, I've never really seen a shot from that angle before. Seeing some of that stuff yesterday, some of the footage is pretty cool.
Yeah, this is the first time I see it as well. I heard Rasmus tried it at practice, and it kind of felt it was okay to use. So
okay,
we might see more players try it out. Maybe more so the skips that kind of don't have to lean over and sweep.
Yeah, you're not really a hat guy, though. I feel like I've almost never seen you wear a hat.
I had a couple of seasons, actually, when
Did you? Oh, yeah, that's right,
hat
actually. That's like a decade ago, probably.
Yeah, more like 5 years.
Okay,
but,
okay.
Yeah, I actually do like it now. Yeah.
And I'm not really sure why. I think I just had a lazy year. I just didn't want to
like I don't want to do my hair anymore. Yeah. I'm going hat mode.
Yeah, I like it. Back line.
And we're now a three-headed monster in the booth. Pleased to be joined by the Grand Slam's in-house MC, one half of the Broom Brothers with me, and the Summerside PEI 2014 Men's Open B-side champion, Robbie Doherty's here.
Excuse me? Lost that one.
Oh, sorry. B-side finalist. My apologies.
That's okay. Good to be here. Thanks, John. King Nicholas.
Hello,
always a pleasure. What a week.
Yeah.
What a week.
This might be one of the best slams ever when we kind of sum it up afterwards.
Oh, I think that's certainly in the mix. Absolutely. Great curling, great crowd. Certainly passionate about the sport here in St. John's, Newfoundland. There's one team that might get a little louder applause than the others, but...
Us?
The commentary team.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't we get the big, the big wrestling style intro before the draws? I feel like that's got to get incorporated in. And up in the booth.
I take bribes.
That's good because I'm rich, so.
The Team McEwen.
Yeah, they're chasing here.
Team Hosesli.
Chasing here.
I think you run it. I think so, yeah. Like out turn across.
McEwen with a game this afternoon, but a big one tomorrow night at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, Briar final rematch against Team Guju. I'm sure there won't be an empty seat in the building for that one.
Oh, it should be pretty exciting.
No. Other way, maybe. Other way. Park. Whoa. Whoa, no. Well, roll it over. Let's create some space.
I should have just kept on it to make, create space. Okay.
Already looking like an interesting end here. It's kind of a lot of corner guards in play for McEwen. They will get their chances of scoring 2, but at the same time, both draws to the middle are blocked. It will be a bit of chasing until they might get that chance for generating 2 points.
Yeah, it looks like the center guard going up here for Simon Glore.
The trick to this kind of guard, you don't want it to be too close, just make an easy double, then there are 4 reds in front of the rings. It's going to be really tough from there to hold McEwen from scoring 2 points. But if it's too high, it's so likely the line is not perfect, so you can chase from either side and you have so many guards to roll behind. So they just elected to play it in the perfect spot instead, and kind of...
Is there a big enough hole there, though, I think, for McEwen? Maybe we're getting a look at the hat cam there. He's giving us a really good sense of the angle, but...
I think you could certainly go...
Yes, there you go. That's a good look right there.
It's just a tough shot, though, and the problem is that the guard is still a good guard, kind of the perfect height. So this shot needs to be made, and even if made, it's still going to be possible to get a good end out of this from Hosesli.
Flash leaning on it right away here. Got to get by that top center. And they do. Now do they have enough of a roll? How's that for a shot from Kevin Marsh?
And Colton Flash.
Yeah, yeah, good point.
He's there too?
Colton is a player. He's always been good, but it seems like the past 2 years he's really just elevated his game, not only shooting, but on the brush. He's always been known as a strong athlete, but he's certainly made a lot of shots for this team. Whether it's keeping it straight or making a curl at the end. John, we've talked about this team McEwen on the podcast a few times. You know my thoughts on them.
Yeah, no, for sure. They're up there. You have them winning the Briar this year, so we'll see. What do you think, Nick? In the conversation for sure.
Yeah, I think it's closer than ever this year. I think with some lineup changes, it's kind of hard to know what to expect, but definitely McEwen in top form is hard to beat.
And how about that for the chase right back from Marco Hosesli? Unfortunately, just didn't quite get the roll. I think he's stuck in no man's land a little bit here. This could be an opportunity for Colton Flash.
Yeah, I see just board. Oh, gotcha. Yep.
Yeah, I think for the Briar this year, I think you have at least 4 teams that are very equal, at least on paper beforehand. Obviously, you've got some teams with more history and results earlier, but with lineup changes, there are no easy predictions in the top 4, I think.
Wow, really nice from Colton Flash there.
You just stay with that, eh? It's easier than that.
So, Nick, if you were Canadian, how many Briars do you think you got?
I don't know if I can give an honest answer to this.
Well, give me the dishonest answer then.
I will upset people.
You think so? Okay. Upset me.
I think it's a different type of event. What a lot of people kind of compare a lot would be kind of slams compared to World Championships and Briars, like qualification rounds that are long, week-long events on different ice conditions than a shorter event like a slam. So to me, it's a lot more about kind of finding information, and for a long event like a Briar or a World Championship, you will, at the end of that week, the top teams will play close to perfect curling. In a slam, you rarely see that. We saw it from Mao at last slam in the final. They made absolutely everything.
Yep.
But it's more rare to see teams get to that top peak performance in a slam. It's usually kind of a few mistakes here and there kind of deciding the outcomes of a lot of the games, and only 8 ends and compared to 10. So I think in the Brier format, we would do a lot better than in slams. So even though we play the same teams, I'm very sure our record in Briers would be way better than at slams, but then would it be as good as they are at World Championships when we get to play more of them? We only play one Canadian team at a time, and only one Scottish, one Swiss team, and etc. But I'm gonna guess we would have a few titles if we would have played like in as many Briers as Brad Gushu, for example.
Right,
for
right.
one of
I mean,
those
it helps when you get
provinces.
21 kicks at the can, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would tend to agree with you. I mean, I think obviously your record at those long tournaments, the Worlds and the Olympics, speaks for itself. But that is, interesting to hear your perspective on that. I think a lot of people don't think about that in terms of, the more games you play, the more information you acquire. And this is an unfortunate miss for Marco Hosesli on his last one, has now set up Mike McEwen for a potential 2 here.
Oh, yeah, no, it's a good shot. Really good. Oh, boy. Really good shot. Yeah? Somebody else is in.
And I think we can kind of see that at the Briers as well, even though there are so many good top teams in Canada. We usually only see the same team or same 2 teams be in the final or win the Brier. There are always 4 or 5 on paper before going into the event. But in the past, 10 years, I think we only have 3 different winners, right? It's Gushu, Botcher, and Kui. But we have a lot more teams than that are in the run for it. But they just don't finish on top. So, and the teams that are winning almost every time at the Brier Gushu, they still have only won, I think, 2 or 7 internationally. So sending the best team, they still don't win at the international level. So I think it's really hard to compare. And I think comparing slams to championships like Brier or Worlds is almost impossible. It's a totally different thing. It's almost a different game.
Right. Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, I think even, Brad Gushu at last year's Brier was an example of that, right? They started really slow, and you thought the first 6 games of the Brier, geez, this is, we haven't really seen them play like this, and you thought, are they going to even have a chance to get themselves in contention? And by the end of the week, they were playing unbelievable. So, and we know so much about Brad's ability to read ice and collect information on rocks. I mean, I think it all checks out with what you're saying. So a nice draw around everything there from Philip Hosesli. And now if you're Mike McEwen, what do you do here?
What happens if you try to run this?
Noticed this morning seemed to be getting more curl than yesterday. So might take them a few ends to really kind of figure that out. But shots that weren't available perhaps yesterday with quieter weight, they were available this morning. We'll see if that continues as the day goes on.
Oh, looks like Mike's chasing a run back here potentially.
I don't want to open up our own though.
Yeah, I was coaching this morning, and that's what the team said as well. It was curling slightly more, and the speed might have been a little bit faster actually. So that combination can make for some really good curling. A little more finish, but also the speed to just find draw weight earlier, a little bit easier than yesterday. So hopefully the level of play will increase as we go here.
Good point, Nick. We were in the booth this morning, Brent Lang and I, for Team Tirinzoni versus Team Laws, and both teams were on fire. It was
I heard that was a great game.
Right till the end. It was fun to watch and be part of, but certainly the percentages were a lot higher yesterday for at least Team Laws. And made for some entertaining curling. 2 great teams out here today.
You'd have to move this over
for discussion.
Just fire this back.
Now this is a tricky decision to make. Nothing is without risk. And again, Philip Hosesli just kind of making those shots on you. You think you're in a good position and then over burying that shot so much that you really can't get to it.
Hosesli, one of those teams that we talk about quite often about the rise of young international teams who perhaps the Canadian audience hasn't quite seen as often yet, but they're known in Europe to be very, very good, and they certainly meet that expectation of being really good.
Yeah, we were discussing that before you got here, Robbie, in the first end, because we had a blank. We were discussing how good they've been, and like you said, the Canadian audience maybe hasn't had a chance to get super familiar with them yet. Their resume is not that deep, despite being number 11 in the world. The Hosesli brothers won a couple Swiss junior championships and a couple World Junior Silvers. But they haven't made it past the quarterfinal at a slam, have yet to make it to a European or World Championship, as obviously we know. The Swiss program right now, very strong with Brunner in there and Schwaller, so it may be a while before we see them there, but they're certainly getting ever closer, as this is just maybe a peel and try to roll your... Oh no, he is trying for the run back and won't get it. Does get rid of the back yellow, but I don't know how much that helps them. It's still Team Hosesli lying 1.
I think maybe that was the shot they went for, actually.
Okay.
Open it up and kind of just spring that back one was kind of a bonus, but not necessary. But it was more about opening up the top 12 run back if they have to. Now they kind of get 2 ways at it.
I'm sitting at an odd angle here, but it kind of looks like those red ones are lined up somewhere towards the middle. I don't think it's quite lined up automatic, but...
No, and I think they're on the wrong angle as well, so you can't really put drag or rotation in effect. You can't really get it towards the yellow rock.
Can't throw spinner down, Nick.
I mean, it's possible.
It's been done.
Just got to be brave enough.
Yes, exactly.
I think that worked out really well, though. I think they opened up 2 ways at it. There's a hole that is very manageable and the run back on the top 12. So Hosesli basically has no choice but to try and freeze this rock behind the corner.
So it's an important shot here for Philip Hosesli. Couple red rubies sticking around in the house here. Last rock. Philip Hosesli, second end.
Keepers haven't touched this yet. A lot of rotation. It's pretty close.
It needs to come off or so any space might help.
It does just chap off the side. I don't know if it leaves McEwen a shot for a multiple or not.
I mean, I hit it thick, and it's a steal.
I think it's certainly there for 2, but it's very difficult. If he ever hits it thin, it's a steal of 2. Or if he wrecks on the guard. So very tough shot, but it's definitely there for 2 if he hits it perfectly.
Yes. Yes. You're throwing like a regular peel? Yeah.
About a third of a rock should do it.
It's a skinny quarter to flush it. Yes, if I hit it too fat.
So big shot here for Mike McEwen. Facing 2, and there's a lot of ways he could give up a steal of 2 here, but if he makes a great shot, it will be 4-2.
Think it'll curl much.
And this is a tricky one. You can't really play this safe. Because if you nick the guard, it's 2. If you hit it too thin, it's 2. You only have those, excuse me, 2 inches or thereabouts to not give up a steal of 2 here.
So here we go, final stone. Colton Flash on it right out of the hand. Do they have it? He's through the hole. Now does he have it for 2? Yes, he does. What a shot from Mike McEwen. Was in a lot of danger, but he stared it right in the face, puts 2 on the board. They lead 2-0.
Great fucking
when you've conquered another game, a long day, a job well done, and the final work call, where your place. Come as you are and fit in comfortably. Mr. Mike's. Eat locally, enjoy casually.
45. Just pick a turn. Which one?
Welcome back, curling fans, to the Coyote National. John Cullen alongside Nicholas Sedin and Robbie Doherty for this men's second draw between Mike McEwen and Marco Hosesli. And boys, that was quite the shot from Mike McEwen to finish off the second end there. As we said, not much margin for error, but no errors were made, and Team McEwen puts 2 on the board.
Mike McEwen in the last 2 seasons just really seemed to get that eye of the tiger back, if you will. Certainly hungry out there, lives for those big shots, and he's been making a lot of them. Once again, Colton Flash with a big assist on that last one.
Good.
Yeah, I think the older generation would maybe compare him a lot to Jeff Stoughton. Very high gear when like the peak of their careers have been extremely good. So when you're talking like greatest of all time, they might not be in the mix, but when we're talking best for a certain time in their careers, like for 1 or 2 seasons when they had their absolute highest level, it was potentially higher than any other curlers. And I think Mike is definitely in that conversation. His high level is extremely high.
Yeah, and I wonder, I think Stoughton's a great comparison, not just because they throw the rocks similar and they're both from Winnipeg, but also, too, I think in both their cases, consistency, right, has been sort of the problem. And I'm not talking about necessarily within a year, but a year-over-year consistency. Jeff Stoughton was like that, too. He had some seasons where he was unbelievable, world champion. Mike hasn't reached that height yet, but like you said, has had some seasons where was the best team on tour, #1 in the world, Brier finalist last year. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think when you talk about greatest of all time, it's often the consistency and those big results where we say, oh, that's maybe the greatest of all time curler. But like you said, at their peaks, 2 of the best players we've seen certainly in the last 40 years.
I think to add as well to what Nicholas originally said is, you talked about him being on top for so long, and then there was a while we haven't really seen a lot of Mike McEwen, especially in the Grand Slam circuit, but he came back 2 seasons ago. I think we saw him in Saskatoon for the first time in a while. We saw him in a couple Tier 2 events, but since that last year, he really, really has come back and at full force. That's what's fun to watch about Mike. Just totally has his pizzazz back, if you will. Certainly confident and brave.
The thing about Mike is that he's all confidence. Like when he has the confidence, he believes he will make every shot. It doesn't matter if he has 2 millimeter of the shot rock. He believes he will hit it perfectly. And when he's on that mood, he's extremely hard to beat. But then sometimes I guess he's lost that confidence a little bit and kind of doubting himself, and then it's a lot more difficult to curl at this level. If you're the last rock thrower and you lose confidence, it's basically game over at this level. But when he's getting this confidence back, he's definitely one of the best throwers and individual curlers there's ever been.
Well, and he talks a lot about his teammates, right? I think that's a big factor for him. And, when he had that early success, he played with Denny and BJ and Matt for a decade, similar to you, Nicholas, where you've had, the same teammates for years and years, and you feel comfortable and going into every season, I know what I'm going to get from all my guys. I like all my guys. We're in a good spot. And I think once that team ended, and it felt like it ran its course, they were together for 10 years, which is a long time for a curling team, as unfortunately Kevin Marsh wrecks the guard there. But yeah, I think, he was searching for that again, and he's finally found it here in the Marsh brothers and Colton Flash. And I think, that also makes a huge difference. And I think you can probably speak to that more as a skip, but I feel like when it comes to having the confidence to make those shots, you want to feel like your team has that confidence in you as well.
Absolutely, and when you don't, it's really difficult to play. You kind of feel like you want to please everyone, kind of not miss the wrong way, rather than really going for the shots you're calling. Definitely been there, done that. So I kind of feel for Mike, especially when he had those kind of tougher years when he didn't have that confidence. But great seeing him back, and he's a force to be reckoned with. And like going into that Briar, I agree with you, Robbie, that if he can keep playing this well and the team can back him up, they are one of the top favorites. And if they make it to Worlds, they might be one of the top favorites there as well.
A key element as well is the Marsh brothers coming in. They've played at a high level their whole career, but I think when they finally got the opportunity to join this squad, they all saw the potential, and the Marsh brothers really rose to the occasion, especially sweeping. Like Kevin might not look like the biggest guy out there, but he's strong and he can throw a lot of weight. And Dan is just so perfect with his lead rocks and his placement.
Yeah, no, they've been very good, and we'll see if they can be very good here. As nice little poke there from Kevin Marsh. It is McEwen lying one without the hammer here.
The thing about sweeping too, I think height has more to it than people think. It's people tend to look at kind of the technique and the muscle mass, or if it looks powerful. But if you're taller, you get that leverage. So I think they get a lot more pressure than it looks. So if you would measure the pressure, I think a taller person, even if not as strong or maybe the same body mass, you will still get a very high pressure. So I think the sweeping for the whole team is very efficient, and they do make a lot of shots for Mike.
And then if you're Amos Mozaner, you just have all the boxes ticked.
Yeah, he definitely has the mass and height and power.
Speaking of power, Justin Hosesli trying to bring this one over here. And I don't know if that was the desired result. It's not terrible, though. You do have yellow lying 3, 4, 5.
Maybe even to there. Yeah. Yes. Might be easier to throw a little. See, like, control with the out.
Now this is starting to look a little dicey for Hosesli here. The 3 reds on the center line.
What's the weight?
Definitely problematic.
What's the weight? Okay. Awesome.
You do, however, have 3 yellows in the rings, so Mike has got to be careful.
Yeah, leading by 2. Going to remove one of those Yellowstones here with Colton Flashes first.
Little big. Really got to curl.
They want to get off that red one, though. Oh, boy. Oh, can they stick around for 4th shot? That's, I don't know, not bad.
The result was a lot better than the shot.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, exactly.
Worked out.
Yeah, you heard Mike say, worked out. So they are lying 1, 2, and 4 here. And to your point, Nicholas, Team Hosesli in a little bit of trouble here, too. That center guard is tight, and they got 2 reds behind it. Gonna have to do some damage control here, I think.
And the one that kind of leaked in behind the corner guard is really hard to get to as well.
So Marco Hosesli gonna throw a bomb here and see if he can't get a few of these rubies moving. Oh, that's not the desired result.
Interesting setup here for Team McEwen now. There you see the hands going to the chin, and you're wondering what to do next.
I think Hosesli did achieve a few things there. They did open him up a little bit, so at least now they should be able to score in this end. And Mike is sitting 3, but they
Or you go here.
Kind of changed it around to angles that aren't really ideal for Mike either. They're not on the center line anymore, and not an obvious way to steal from here. They kind of have to go for the force and make sure not enough doubles are made for the 3 yellows to come back into play.
Yeah, he could. I think it's a guard. Or you just... I don't mind nosing that. Okay.
The triple on the red is on. Not easy, but it's about a third of a rock. All 3 reds will be moving at least, even if not removed, if they can. They can't really just leave that either. So I think hitting the back yellow is kind of the safer call.
Yeah, their other option they were saying was the guard. You like this call as well?
Yeah, I think the guard, you're not really guarding a great situation. I would probably want to hit as well, being 2 points up.
So McEwen lying 4 now without the hammer.
Spoke about mass and strength in our sweeping conversation. This Hosesli team, they have a lot of power on their team. They're fit, they can throw it hard, and they can sweep. Really a bright future ahead of them.
And they're a little bigger than they look maybe on screen as well. Kind of the same as the Ramsfjell team.
Oh, yeah.
They are big. they
are
have a lot
big.
of
All 4 of them.
Yeah. A lot of pressure on that broom, so they can sweep really, really efficiently. And I think this Hosesli team is very similar in that sense. They are bigger and stronger than most teams out there, even though you might not see it on the screen.
Oh, this looks like Marco might have pulled the string on this one. Glor and Househair trying to get this one anywhere close. Oh, boy.
Just still not powerful enough.
Yeah, no kidding. They tried, but that was just not there for Marco Hosesli, and now this is real trouble for the Swiss squad. McEwen lying 4 and throwing without hammer. Wasn't looking like a great steal situation before, but it is now.
Yeah, certainly. By hitting that back 12-foot rock, they kind of left the freeze for Hosesli, but it was also kind of a must-make. Now, leaving it short, now they're really in trouble and not a lot of rocks left to play.
Looked like they're just trying the straight come around. Tap.
I think just the come around, yep.
And I think with the ice this week, the thing is, it hasn't been curling quite as much as we're used to, but the finish has been massive. So from the second hog line in, you get a lot of curl and no problem at all to fully bury behind that top 12-foot rock. I think that is the right call. If you go for the tap and you kind of slightly hit it on the outside, you kind of open the way in for Hosesli.
Line's good. It was a good
So a
eye.
big shot here for Mike McEwen, a chance to apply even more pressure. Already lying 4, looking to lie 5 here.
Please. Whoa.
Weeper's just putting a brush down now.
Close. No. Right here. I think just let it grind.
Want that to stop.
Good shot.
That's pretty good. Maybe a little deeper than he would have liked.
The curl nice.
Yeah, it didn't come that close to the top 8-foot, but it's still fully buried. But it's still going to be really difficult to freeze to the inside of that rock. That would be almost impossible. If that goes 3 inches deeper, it's almost a gimme to freeze shot rock. So that makes a big difference, those inches around the tee line.
I gave that a pretty good, that was a very slow slide. And I really...
At this point in the end, Nicholas, would you ever look at maybe trying to freeze to the face of it now and just almost conceding your steal of 1?
I think if the shot is there to kind of get to the inside, or maybe kind of a small tap, so that if you make it perfectly, there is at least theoretically a chance of getting 2 points, then I would definitely like the freeze. If they don't feel that is on, then maybe you also need to think about just scoring in this end.
Looks like he's going to try to open it up here, maybe throw a double.
I think if you can run this back on the double, potentially the shooter can kind of also cover part of that top 8-foot rock. It's a difficult shot though, and if he doesn't make it, it's probably looking like a steal. But he figures if he can stick this on the side red for second shot, at least there's always an in-off of the yellow on the left as we look at the overhead.
So here we go, first stone for Marco Hosesli, trying to get his team out of trouble.
Oh.
And how about that?
Great shot.
What a shot. I didn't even know that's what they were trying.
Like to
I tried to tell you.
I know. I was blacking out over here.
I'd like to officially take my question back on the last strategy call. You can see the...
No, and there we can see the shot-making ability of Philip Hosesli. He's just making those over and over again. And once you've played them a few times, you kind of realize that's just what he's going to keep doing. So you have to keep adding pressure to this team.
So a short run back now for Mike McEwen, still in firm control of this end, and if he makes it a steal opportunity still on the board, this would leave them lying 5 once again, but this has to be made.
You really want to stick this buried if you can, without being too cute, but in this case, kind of made sure it goes away, leaves an easy single, but McEwen in full control.
Yeah, you always love making an angle run back double on your first one just to give yourself a chance to score one. It's always a good feeling.
Sounds like my Tuesday nights.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, great shot from Philip Hosesli on his first one to set this one up. It's an open hit 4-1, but it is against 5. So not a lot of room for error here.
Throw like it's just a heavy normal. Then it's comfortable. You still do everything. All the other stuff. Good force foot.
And no trouble there for the skipper. So it will be 1 on the board for Team Hosesli, but Mike McEwen will take a 1-point lead in the hammer into the 4th.
I've stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on,
every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance,
pushing limits,
seizing victory.
When victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. Fix it. That was even not. It's fine.
Sorry, I had to.
No, I'll take it. I'll take it. Oh, my goodness. Well, we had a laugh in the break. Sorry about that coming back. But great end for Mike McEwen, getting a very tough force out of Philip Hosesli, forced to throw an angle run back double, but they do get their single point. Mike McEwen up 1 with the hammer, playing the 4th end. And just a reminder, you can catch all of the action on this draw and on every draw on Home Team Live. Keep you updated. It is 1-1 between Michael Brunner and Ross White. Ross White has the hammer in that game, playing 4. Mark Muskatowicz, fresh off of his European win. Big win for the German squad. Their first major international title in 20 years is out here against Team Schwaller, playing without Yannick this week as he had some knee surgery. And so they're tied 2-2. Schwaller has the hammer. They're playing the 3rd. And Christina Black the Tier 2 Tour Challenge winners facing off against Rachel Homan, the top seed in the field versus the bottom seed, but Christina Black with a big steal of 1 in the third. They are tied 2-2. Rachel Homan has the hammer playing 4, and as I said, you can catch all those games on Home Team Live.
Nicholas, question for you as a European curler, someone who's been around for a long time, and perhaps your experience might exclude you from this conversation, but one thing I always wondered about, I was curious when you brought up the Briar and when that discussion happened. For a European team, I just think of the differences in environments they're constantly in when they're curling, which is, the same game they're playing, but just totally different atmospheres. We heard about the Europeans that were just in a pretty secluded part of Finland with no fans set up in the crowd. And you come to a building like this, between 5,000 and 6,000, when a certain team's going to be on the ice, it's going to be, if not sold out, really close. How do perhaps the younger European teams, like the Hoseslis, like the, say, Crakes, how do they make that adjustment, and what goes into that to prepare?
Yeah, it definitely takes some getting used to. I think being European curlers, it's definitely not the same media coverage. You don't see curling on TV growing up. You only see it on at the Olympics every 4 years kind of thing. And if you're lucky, if the World Championship is in our part of the world, you might have it on like on good evening hours on TV. But for most of the slams, it's kind of in the middle of the night, so no one is really watching from back home unless you're parents or super close family. So it's definitely different. When we get to this stage, the first few times, I remember thinking like, holy, this is big. But then I think it's more individually who can kind of like that situation and who gets intimidated by it. But that would be more individual, I think, because all curlers coming to this level are good curlers, but then it's kind of about liking that pressure, extra pressure from the big crowds, and kind of maybe being questioned a little more in media, etc. That can definitely take a toll on some players, but some thrive in it. So I think that's from team to team in a lot of cases, but it definitely takes some getting used to, no matter who you are.
That's a good point. And even the simple things like the volume in here this week compared to what normally we would see at a slam, it's just a bigger capacity. There's a hometown favorite. For example, when Gushu's on the ice and they make a big shot, the crowd cheers like they always do, but when there's 4,000 more people cheering at the top of their lungs, it's just louder. Hard to communicate, just a different atmosphere altogether.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that reminds me a lot of the first Olympics that we played in Vancouver in 2010. Yes. Basically,
that might have been the most hostile environment I've ever seen for curling. Yes. I was at a bunch of those games.
Yes. Yeah, and it was not only loud and a lot of people in there, but it was also kind of the wrong type of crowds for curling, I would say. It's more.
They had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, it was more just like cheering everything and kind of booing and being loud when people were playing, etc. And that kind of. That took some extra focus of the players, because sometimes you just couldn't hear yourself thinking, and we needed to use signs and show what we meant instead of just shouting out a number or like play this hit and roll kind of thing. We had to show everything, so that added another level, I guess, to our game. After that, we've been a little better when the crowd is loud or when you can't hear as well in certain arenas.
Yeah, I was there because I lived in Vancouver at the time, and what was happening was before the Olympics started, they sold ticket packages that would include you'd get a ticket to a hockey game, a ticket to a skiing event, and every single package had like a curling ticket in it, because it was just, the arena sat, I think, 5,000 people or whatever it was, 8,000, I don't know how many it was. And they had to fill it up somehow, so that was their idea, was, all these packages we'll throw a curling draw in there. And you had a lot of fans who had never seen a live curling game before. And it was fun, though. I mean, it made for a really wild environment, a good time. I had lots of friends that went to curling games and really liked it. So, it was a good time, great event. And this has been a great end for Team Hosesli. Mike McEwen's team has not really been able to find the shot to get them out of this. They started with Dan Marsh ticking a guard off the center line, and they've been kind of chasing ever since. And Hosesli lies 1 here without hammer.
You can probably still chase it, though. Give this a go.
And to wrap up that topic as well, I think that this week is similar in a lot of ways in terms of the amount of people and kind of being pretty loud in here. But I think the big difference is that over here, a lot of people know curling, and they've followed Brad Gushu, especially for many, many years. So you hear a lot more of kind of the cheering good shots and staying kind of respectful when the opposition are about to throw their rock, etc. So this is kind of the perfect curling crowd, in my opinion, and it kind of raises the atmosphere quite a bit when the crowds are just loud for no reason kind of thing. Then it's a little bit frustrating and hard to deal with, especially for a young new team that are not used to it or have gone through it before.
Yes, good point.
So a nice double peel made there for Colton Flash. Hosesli still lies 1, but it's not buried anymore, and even if it were, that center guard is pretty high. So
still some work to do here for Team McEwen. Hosesli can never make a good one here. It could put a lot of pressure on Mike.
And the problem for Hosesli is that the guards are a little bit too high. They can't really make use of them that easily. So for now, they're kind of playing to force. If they ever get a mistake from McEwen, though, the steal can come into play in a hurry.
Nice tap there for Marco.
Looks like the double is available.
I want a little more on the inside there to kind of keep the shooter partially behind cover.
Do you want to throw an E?
If this double is made now, the steal is almost out of play, but the force might still be on.
Just a quick update as well. Benoit Schwarz Van Berkel making a shot for 2 in their game. So Schwaller leading that one 4-2 over Mark Moskatovitz. And Colton Flash will just miss that double. So Hosesli lies 1 on the button, and now it's starting to look a little more like a potential steal situation.
Yeah, that was a fairly big mistake, actually. A fairly straightforward double on the center line. Usually his bread and butter.
He would get
So they're looking for a tight guard here. If this comes into the rings, the guard is high enough for Mike to maybe hit it out and roll behind the corner, and then the 2 is in play.
So the guard is made there by Philip Hosesli, and we'll see if the chase is on here for Mike McEwen.
We were making all those hit and rolls. We're making this pretty easy. There's plenty of finish. I think you could rock on the inside yellow.
Mike seems pretty convinced this rock is accessible.
I think we can get to it. Yeah.
It certainly is. It's just a very precise shot. You need to play the perfect weight. If you ever overthrow it a little bit, it's not going to end up well. They need to stick the shooter kind of covering the draw. If they just hit half a rock and roll away, the draw to the button is going to be very easy for Hosesli. But first of all, sit shot rock, and hopefully close enough to the center line to kind of cover that come around for Hosesli.
Mike so committed to his pre-shot routine. Same for years. Big shot here for McEwen. There you go, that noise factor once again. Resets.
Yeah, Rachel Homan making a shot over on sheet A, drew the applause from the crowd. We'll see if similar applause will be coming here for Mike McEwen. Very vital shot with his first here in the fourth. Colton Flash leaning on this one. You heard Mike say they could rack on that inside yellow guard. Looks like they're by it now, and
gonna have the weight to push it far enough. I don't think so.
No. Still shot stone is Team Hosesli.
Dude, just a bit more weight and then like.
Yeah, I think they were calling the line based on it having a little more weight, I think.
It is open, so that's worst case to get this down.
I guess at the same time, they held it straight early, so if it's light, maybe that just wasn't quite a good line call either, because if it would have had more weight, it would have been nowhere close to that guard.
Yeah, true.
Thinking it would curl slightly more than it did.
Tried to kick with draw and then get the weight out of my hand.
So here, it looks very tempting to kind of just get to nose of that, but that would leave a very easy shot for one for Mike. Just nose hit on the outturn side. So they're gonna play the correct shot in my opinion. A tougher shot to make, but if they make this one, it's gonna be really tough to score for Mike.
So final stone for Philip Hosesli. Looking to find their way back into the game here, down one. Nothing at all from Lauren Hauser. Hauser trying to bring this over.
Stopped in a pretty good place. I'm at a different angle here. Doesn't look like Mike has much available.
He certainly has the tap for one. I think if he really wants to take it on, I think the blank is there, but it's just not a shot you would go for. It would look fun to watch, though.
A little straighter on this side.
I'm up here.
Yeah.
So
in that case, I want him to try it. I want the most fun shot possible.
If you really need to, I think he would make quite a few out of 10. Third of a rock with a bomb on the end turn side there, but it's just not worth it in this case, obviously. So just gonna try to tap for one. Very makeable, but still it's against 2 points. Gotta make it.
You do have to top it a little. It's got to be pretty close on weight.
So final stone for Mike McEwen here in end number 4. Looking to restore the 2-point lead, but it won't be easy.
Room! Curl! Whoa! Curl!
Calling for the curl here from Dan Marsh. You do have to move that yellow stone a little bit.
Curl!
Trying to lean on it here.
Curl!
Do they have enough of it?
They do.
Yes, they do. Great touch from Mike McEwen. Great sweep
made that for two
from Dan Marsh. And Mike McEwen will take a 2-point lead into the fourth end break. We'll see you back here in 3 minutes.
Sweeping down. I didn't want to throw it too hard, though.
I've stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on,
every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance,
pushing limits,
seizing victory.
When victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
This is the Cornwall Curling Club. It's my home club. I started curling here when I was 7 years old. I decided to stick with curling because I really enjoyed the small team environment. I curled with the same girls from the time I was 9, basically until the end of juniors. So getting to form those friendships with my teammates was really special to me.
I started curling because of my grandparents, and both my parents curled and my brother, so it was just like a whole family thing. And when you walk into the curling club in Truro, Nova Scotia, and everyone greets you, and it's such a warm environment, and it's fun. After school, we'd go, and all of our friends would be there, so it was just like such a fun environment. And I got to curl with some of my closest friends growing up, so it really helped me keep in the game, and we all had the same goals.
I know what curling has done for our family, the opportunities it provided for both my girls. Nationally, we've got to see travel the world. It's just a great sport. It's a small community. People, at all levels. Everybody knows each other. It's kind of a unique sport that way.
It's a sport that enables him to build his confidence and to make friends while doing something that he really enjoys.
Right now, at the age that they're at, it's just awesome to see when they come here and they see their friends at the curling club and the stuff they do off the ice too, and smiles and hanging out and just enjoying their time with friends.
Hello, curling fans, and welcome back inside the Mary Brown Center here in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador for the third Grand Slam of curling event of the season, the Coyote National. It is 1-0 Mike McEwen against 0-1 Marco Hosesli in a huge game for both teams. John Cullen alongside you, and alongside me are Nicholas Ledeen and Robbie Doherty for what has been a great game so far. Mike McEwen leading 3-1. And Hosesli has the hammer here in end number 5.
Certainly a great shot from Mike McEwen on his last one in the last end to get a single point. He was in some trouble that whole end, but got himself out of it. Just see, speaking of, we talked about it earlier, Nicholas, the rise in European curlers and just the sport in general in the last, say, 10 years has just come so far in the shot making and the precision. It seems like we went from thinking in feet to inches. A lot of the comments we see online or perhaps around the club is that a lot of these shots are flukes. And you know what? I think of your famous shot, the spinner for 2 at the World Championships in Ottawa. And I got to ask, because there's a local player at my club, Karen Peters, and Karen states it's a fluke.
I'm good.
The way I see it, it was called and made. What say you?
Okay, it's okay.
Yeah, I think Karen needs to chill.
Yeah.
No, in a sense, I agree with him. It was the only shot we could play, and I kind of think the good thing about the shot was that we knew it was there. We kind of saw the shot, which a lot of curlers didn't until that point. But then making it was such a low percentage. It was a total guess on weight and speed and rotation, etc. So in that sense, out of 50 shots, I probably wouldn't have made that many. So in that sense, yeah, it's a bit of a fluke for sure. But I like the call and making it kind of just to see that the reaction of the rocks were what we called it, so to speak. So we kind of guessed right on what would happen if we throw a spinner.
So you said you weren't sure it was a guess on rotation, so you were kind of deciding between 55 and 65 rotations before you threw it?
Yeah, exactly. I thought 55 would be the perfect amount, so I just threw that and hoped
nice.
for the best.
Perfect, yeah, good. Glad to know you got the spinners that dialed in. I think 60 on this one, boys. I don't know, 57 seems like the right number to me.
It's like when you hear club teams on Tuesday nights deciding if they're going to throw a 9-5 or a 9-8. It's like
9-5 makes this. 9-8, I'm not so sure, though.
Contact is key, Ken.
Yeah, exactly. Contact is key. As Brent Lang likes to tell me, Wayne Madaw's old advice, that if you're throwing a takeout, first order of business is taking the rock out. Usually important.
Smart man. Right?
Yeah. Well, he's won a few curling games in his life.
He's done okay.
Yeah. So a couple guards up here for Mike McEwen, and
keep the weight going.
Kevin Marsh going to chase this one through the hole. You'd love to get this out of the back of the rings. Oh, Mike McEwen.
Shot.
flexing his lifetime skip sweeping form there.
I think he'd give me a run for the money.
Yeah, you
now
think
that
so?
I'm injured.
Yeah, that's true.
Might
yeah,
be close.
Yeah, you've got that. How's the shoulder? Speaking of that.
The shoulder is healing very slowly but surely.
Yeah.
I think it's been around 6 months since the surgery, and so I'll probably have another 6 months until it's 100%. But I can start sweeping a little bit and kind of doing some training in the gym more than just the rehab with rubber bands, etc. So definitely getting there, but I will have a few months to go until
So the run back double called and made for Simon Glure.
Set. We go around. Or out turn. It's that or this.
Nicholas, for any young players perhaps watching and trying to learn a thing or two from yourself in the booth today, Team McEwen, 3-1 lead going into the last half of the game.
Real tight line.
At what point, what's the number, perhaps the point separation, what does it have to be that you maybe take your foot off the gas a little bit and go more defensive versus, when to keep your foot down?
I think it used to be 2 points with the 4-rock rule. I think with the 5-rock rule, you're almost not even safe if it's 3 points. I think almost 4 points is kind of but then the opposition needs to score 3 and then steal, or 3 force multiple again. It kind of becomes such a low percentage task at that point. So, but I think 3 points, it's basically just one mistake and the opposition can score 3 points right back. So I think, I would say 4 points. That's probably when you can kind of start playing a little bit safe at that point. Like giving away 2 points isn't the worst, but if you're only up 3 points, you're really not safe until it's kind of like 3 points up in the last end. So you have to score 3 and then it's very tricky nowadays. Tactically too, you can control the whole game and then lose it on one shot basically. Even if you're up a couple points going into the last. I've seen quite a few teams manage to score that 3 for the win and turn it around in the last end.
An unfortunate rub of the guard there for Simon Glure.
Seems like 4 to the 5 ends thus far in this game. Hosesli's just not been able to put that 3 or 4 perfect shots in a row. It seems like they'll get something going, but just that little miss of execution seems to be costing them, letting McEwen back in this one, in this end.
I mean, maybe to here.
I want to say letting them back in, but not giving themselves an opportunity to perhaps generate multi-point end.
And especially with Mike playing as well as he is at the moment, they've gotten a couple of mistakes from Colton, and when you get to Mike's rocks, then he's been pretty deadly so far. Double for 2 being the biggest shot so far, but he's making almost everything. So Hosesli team being 2 points down, they really can't afford to just make half shots anymore. They have to make their shots. Easier said than done.
Is this where we make the joke about it's all easy in the booth?
I think it's very easy in the booth. I'm almost never wrong from up here.
Yeah, I make the final every week.
I haven't heard that one yet. You never miss from the booth.
In fairness, I didn't miss a lot on the ice either, but that's why I had to retire.
John, I was going to ask you the same questions you asked Nicholas. If you ever got to the Briar, how many games would you win?
0, probably. Yeah, probably not too many. We might have won a couple. I mean, I guess the years I lost the BC final was 2015 and 2017. So I don't know what the pool situations were like back then, but I think in 17 it was split by then. So I'd like to think we could have racked up a couple W's. you know, all 3 territories are in there. I would have favored our chances against any of those.
I'm going to give you the chance to chirp me right back. Can confirm relegation was still in play in 2017.
In 2017?
Yes.
Okay, because you were in it.
That's right.
Yeah. And did you get out of it?
I got us out of it in 2015, put us right back in 2016. That's what brought us to 2017.
Yep, beautiful. Yep, fair enough.
That's bored.
Yeah, who was your team in 2017?
King Edward Mackenzie. No offense.
Yep. Yeah, okay. I'd have beat you in 2017.
Unfortunately.
I guess we'll never know.
Shots fired.
Well, we were pretty good in 17. I mean, we were probably ranked 30 or so in the world and lost the BC final to John Morris. There's no shame in that. That was a very good team at that time.
Yes, it was.
It would have been the Briar here in the Mary Brown Center, so it would have been a fun one to win, but unfortunately that didn't work out so well for us. Is Marco Hosesli going to draw around this corner guard here?
At least you still have your sense of humor.
That's all I ever had. So couldn't afford to lose that, that's for sure.
Nicholas, one point I was going to jump in with when you were answering that question is when you were talking about how the Briar format might favor a team like yours compared to a Slam. The only thing I could think about was the difference in the Briar format versus this format is the Briar you get to play me.
True. I didn't take that into consideration, so we have to reevaluate our chances there.
I can definitely make it, though. Like,
practice game for you.
I think on that level too, like the difference between a Briar and a Slam here, like see a new team coming in like Moskatowicz, it's going to be almost impossible to do super well in their first Slam, even though they played really, really well at the Europeans, and I'm pretty sure they would play well in a Briar type event as well. But in this first Slam, 8 end games, you're right off the bat, shorter practice, a little more kind of paths that are tricky early in the games, and you're playing really strong opponents that have been here many, many times before. The chances for them to do super well are much slimmer. In a Briar, they would definitely win quite a few games in that format. So it is different. Like at this level, at the Slams, you got to be so good from the get-go.
Well, and there. Ooh, that's a miss. Tough break for McEwen.
Yeah, that's a miss at the wrong time for Mike McEwen. Just rubs that guard.
On top of Moskatowicz's first game at a Slam, he was also playing Brad Gushu in St. John's in front of a sold-out 5,000-seat arena.
Welcome to the Slams.
Welcome to the show, kids.
Yeah. 6,700-seat arena, actually. Yeah. So that's it's even worse. Yeah, no question. It's tough, and like you said, Nicholas, too. I think you start a tournament like the Briar or even the Europeans 0-2. So that's fine. Yes, you're under a little bit of pressure to win some games, but you're certainly not thinking, well, we're 0-2, we're dead. Whereas, you lose your first 2 games at a Slam, and it's like, okay, great, we're 2 days in, and we're almost out already. It's definitely a tough way to get adjusted to the grind of a Grand Slam.
John Morris said it best. When I played my first Grand Slam event, I said, Jeepers, I don't see any easy games. He said, Robbie, I'm going to tell you something. If you're looking for the easy game at the Slam, you are the easy game.
Uh-oh, this is dying. Oh, no.
And that's what we talked about earlier on, this Hosesli team playing well, but they just can't seem to string that 3 or 4 perfect shots together. And once again,
that's a huge miss from Philip Hosesli there. Hauser and Glue are just trying to drag that one all they could, but doesn't even hit the house. So just debating whether they want to draw around to try for a steal opportunity or hit this and stick for a force. You like this call, Nicholas?
Yeah, I certainly do. I think they can come around, but I think that yellow rock that ended up short of the rings is still very available. We don't really have a lot of margin for error. If you play that come around, you will most likely leave some sort of shot for Hosesli to score 2 points. So I think hitting this and kind of making sure you don't give up 2 points is the right call.
Well, and you said it yourself earlier, you know, when you're playing Philip Hosesli, you get used to him making the big shots, right? We saw him make a few already this game. So, yeah, I tend to agree with you that maybe that's also what Mike McEwen's seeing is, well, we make it perfectly buried. He's going to have a good shot at making that run back and stick for 2. So, yeah, no question about that. So, final stone for Mike McEwen here in the 5th. Trying to correct his previous mistake and lie to.
Yep, curl.
Now there's wet one in this path. This will run a little straighter.
Right to it. Yeah, get on the
No
seal.
problem.
Not a lot of weight on this. Oh, that's going to put the back. So.
Beauty.
Good shot there from Mike McEwen, and indeed the force is on. Philip Hosesli will be forced to draw the 8-foot for a single.
Looks like he's going a little bit wider too. Is that
That's a good way.
yellow guard tight to the rings? Is
I want to slide wider.
a half off center. So
Yeah.
a little different path. Just something to throw in your mind as you're throwing this.
Yeah.
I think it's still close enough to where they've played a lot of the rocks, so speed shouldn't be too tricky here. A couple of feet heavier, if anything.
Final stone. Philip Hosesli needs a piece of the 8-foot for 1. And no trouble at all for the skip from Glarus. But it will be only 1. Mike McEwen will have the hammer and a 1-point lead when we come back. So a potential opportunity missed for Philip and Team Hosesli in that 5th end. We're looking set up for a potential deuce, but an unfortunate miss on the draw has them settling for 1. And I think now for Mike McEwen's got to feel like he's pretty in control of this game. And, you know, Nicholas, I'm always curious in this situation. Obviously for Mike McEwen, you're happy to score 1 here in the 6th end, take a 4-2 lead into the 7th, but do you go that just little bit extra for 2 here, knowing that a 5-2 lead probably almost certainly gets you a win?
Yeah, I think I certainly would like to do that, but at the same time, you will get your chances in an end like this because the opposition knows the importance of trying to get a steal here. So throwing double centers and going really aggressively might kind of give the team in the lead a free opportunity for 2. So I think tactically, you don't really have to do anything extra. You kind of just grab the opportunity if it presents itself. So keep the 2 in play, if you will. But like you said, scoring 1 is fine, and making sure of the score and not allowing a steal is definitely the first priority.
12-8. 8 is macht's. Yes, he is.
And conversely, for Team Hosesli, I guess you do go fairly hard for a steal here.
Yeah, I think you have to, especially early in the end. You have to kind of set things up properly, and that first guard being kind of in the middle of it makes it really difficult to play 2 guards and only 1 point. It's not super necessary either. If the first guard would have been a little closer, maybe we got a couple more options what to do with the second one, but here the freeze was basically the only call.
Yeah.
So just a quick update from the other games being played out here on this fine afternoon. We've got a 2-2 tie between Michael Brunner and Ross White. Ross White has the hammer. They're playing the 6th. Rachel Holman and Christina Black having a real battle. We know that Christina Black always plays Rachel Holman well, knocking her out of the Scotties back in 2023, but she's now trying to draw the forefoot for a single point here, I believe, and has come well short. So there might be a measure there, but no, it is indeed a steal of 1 for Team Homan. So Rachel Holman leading that one 4-2. Christina Black will have the hammer playing 6. And in an all-European battle, Yannick Schwaller and Mark Moskadovitz are still tied 4-4.
Yep.
Christina Black, I grew up with those ladies. They curl out of Halifax, Nova Scotia. We haven't seen them on the slam scene. They won the Tier 2, the Hearing Life Tour Challenge, but they're a talented team. They work hard. They travel quite a bit. And obviously, it's tougher when you live in the East to travel around, but they make the effort, and they're certainly a tough team. They could surprise a lot of people here. They had a tough start, but again, if you're looking for the easy game, as I said, but, you know, starting off with Anderson and then Holman.
Please go for 5.
Wouldn't look quite past them too fast.
Yeah, Christina almost has that Krista McCarville feel to me, you know, where they travel a little bit, but they stay mostly on the East Coast. You know, they'll play an event in Quebec or Ontario, but they tend not to go any further west than Ontario. And you know, but just a team that practices a lot, has all the skills, all the talent. As we said, we've seen Christina in the playoffs at the Scotties a few times, and I like the add of Jill Brothers. That's who beat them in the Nova Scotia Scotties last year. So Christina wasn't even at the Scotties, and anytime you can pick up the best player from your opposition, it's usually a good strategy. Hey, Nick, you know a little something about that.
I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, and a fun fact too. Jill played the first or the same World Juniors as my first. That was back in 2004. She was skipping the Canadian girls team. That one, and played the final against Norway. So there is some experience there for sure. 20 years ago.
Ooh, how's that? What a shot from Kevin Marsh. Gets rid of one yellow and pokes the other one far enough that McEwen's lying at least 2, if not 3 here. Really nice shot from Kevin there.
Sitting 3.
Ja.
So Benoit Schwarz van Berkel drawing against 3 German stones, playing Mark Moskadovitz, and he does make it. So it is now Team Schwaller leading that one 5-4. Moskadovitz will have the hammer playing 6.
And decision time here for Hosesli. You don't really want to give up 2 or even more points. The game is basically over at that point, but you can't just keep it simple either. McEwen sitting 3. They are almost forced to try and freeze this shot. I think just making a double is just not going to make it likely enough to get a good result here.
Yes, this is a huge shot for Simon Glure. As you said, Nicholas, the original call was the double and electing to freeze, but this looks a little bit heavy, and that could be a big problem for Team Hosesli. They're calling an audible now, drawing around everything, and unfortunately will nick that red, and this is starting to look like trouble for the Swiss squad.
Good thing being now they will get another chance at it. Same shot again. Can be played. It's just a higher risk because McEwen will have one more red in the rings. But now they are definitely in it. They have to make a good freeze on the next.
Certainly can't afford to give up 3 here if you're Team Hosesli. 6th end. This one looks wide. Trying to carve it over. Not going to hang on.
In my opinion, it doesn't really make a big difference. Like playing against a really strong team like Mike McEwen, after 6 ends, if you give up a 2 here, it's most of the times it's game over anyways. Yes, you can theoretically come back and all that, but it's just not going to happen very often. So it's worth taking the risk giving up 3 or 4 or 5. It doesn't really matter too much. The big thing is that if you can get a steal or a force, then you're still in the game and can win it. They're going to freeze again, knowing that if they don't make it well, they probably lose the game, but they probably will anyways if they choose something else.
So again, big shot for Marco Hosesli chasing this freeze.
Again, trying to make it curl.
Yeah, Justin Househair trying to bring this over. And again, it will just nestle in right beside. So they haven't quite been able to find that freeze. And starting to run out of stones here if you're Team Hosesli.
Okay.
That looked a little funny to me. It never really had the line to become a decent freeze. But they could have come around everything, sitting second shot back 4. Kind of gave up on it a little bit and stopped sweeping. I think if they just get that around, get it 2 feet farther,
Hair hot.
fairly efficient still. Now it's just an open hit.
Heavy. Curl. Little heavy. Keep going down. Keep going, buddy.
So Dan Marsh trying to bring this one over on the curl. You'd love to just sit right there, and it's pretty darn good from Colton Flash. Team McEwen lies 4.
The freeze not available anymore, but the good thing for Hosesli is that the tap split is very makeable. Same path as they've tried to freeze a couple of times. If they can get to the nose, the shooter sits in a really nice spot, and then they can open up that button area. Have 2 red ones potentially just behind the tee line. It's definitely not over yet if they can achieve that.
Yeah, we've been saying it for a while now, but another huge shot here for Team Hosesli. Tap back split is the call for Marco here.
Out.
Looks like better line on this than the last 2.
Good.
Usable rock.
Yeah, not bad. McEwen still lying 2 though.
Looks like he can get at that with the red on the top 12. Yeah.
Right here. I don't mind that. That's really good.
It was kind of a in-between result there. It's really good, but it's also not quite good enough. If kind of Mike can stick this red onto the yellow, the freeze is very available, but it's really difficult to end up on the inside on that freeze.
You can hit it hard and roll out too.
And if they don't, then McEwen already sits 2 points. So planting this on the nose and then a really good freeze to the inside on either of those 2 red ones.
Oh, no, it's fine. You can see
It's
more
gonna be
than
crucial.
you need. Your shooter. Board.
Your shooter? Who cares about the shooter?
Colton, you shooter, you.
Yeah, exactly.
Easy board.
So again, a chance to really apply some pressure for Team McEwen.
Come on down.
Dan Marsh on this right out of the hand. This is really curling.
Go, 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 go.
Got to get it by the center. They don't.
Touching the guards. Trying to get more of it.
Why did that curl?
Well, that's like.
And so here, Mike a little frustrated. Seemed like Colton maybe threw that well. He said, "Why didn't that curl?" Or sorry, why did that curl rather? So that was an unfortunate result because not only do you not get the red, but you don't move the guard either.
I think part of the frustration there also was that Mike kind of switched the call halfway, knowing that it would most likely overcurl, trying to hit more of that center, but Colton happens easily when you're the thrower yourself. You still want to make the shot so badly, so kind of maybe kept yelling or calling on the sweepers a little too long, so just ended up nicking it very thinly.
So a timeout here for Team Hosesli will listen in.
Also ich würde einfach eine Länge spielen, wo du einen halben Stein schiebst. Das ist sicher ein
Can you translate for us?
No, but I'm sure there are people who are watching who speak German, so I hope they enjoy the silence.
Ja. Nur noch nicht Schutz jetzt. Ja, aber Secondary wären schon gut, oder? Weil wenn du da bist und der 1-2 bleibt, das ist für nichts. Das kann ein bisschen ankommen.
Siehst du das nicht? Mit hinten 12.
Also hinten 12, du wirst einfach nicht viel rollen. Ich glaube, du probierst ihn einfach direkt so und das zuerst ankosten. Genau. Probierst du auf den.
So what are the options they're considering here, Nicholas?
I'm hearing back 12, so I think there's some sort of tap for sure, but then it's kind of tricky where to hit it. I think that the main option that they want to do is to get to nose, tap it onto the one on the right as we see it, closest to Marco Hosesli's broom there, to then roll onto the side of the one on the button. And if it doesn't curl enough, or if it's a little light, then they will kind of just try to tap it into the pocket. But the thing is that they can't just tap it frozen to the left one, that they need to tap it into the pocket or move one of the reds a little bit to sit second shot. Otherwise, it's just too easy.
Hinten 12! Hinten 12! Hin auf! Down! Es ist okay, hinten 12! Easy!
So it's been an intense end so far. We'll see if Philip Hosesli can make the shot to get themselves potentially set up for a steal.
Nice.
Hold and made.
Yeah, very nice shot there from Philip. McEwen still lies one, but it's precarious at this point.
Just top this. How much weight do I hit it with? Maybe actually push this somewhere here.
Do you have enough of this to?
Once again, Nicholas, I'm just sitting at an odd angle, but is there any doubles available for McEwen here? Did you not go over the top, push it through the back, maybe lose the back red?
What happens when we peel the guard?
It's just tough to see from where I'm sitting.
Yeah, it looks like you can certainly squeeze it through the hole, but it's a tight fit.
Or hit that.
I think you can certainly go for it, but depends on if he can see enough behind that guard as well. If you have to absolutely paper it, maybe it's not worth
to
the
me,
risk.
It's peel the guard or.
So Coach Brent Lang out here for a Team McEwen timeout.
Well, I think. Yeah.
My opportunity to chirp him back.
I'm seeing peel the guard, Brent, or hit this with maybe like a hackish board, and just have it come down there. I don't know if that helps us though.
I like Flash's call better, trying to get to closer to the nose.
But does that change him coming off here though? He's only line one though.
It's like, this is not bad, boys. Like, just.
Does he and then he knows it's this? Yeah, likely. Yeah. I don't mind the peel of guard. Okay.
So they were talking about some options in the house, maybe tapping up that red stone or even throwing like a hack weight and kind of removing that yellow stone that's in the top 8 foot, but they're just going to peel the guard. You like this call, Nicholas?
Yeah, in my opinion, there are only 2 good calls here. It's either making the double in the house on the yellows, and if you can't see enough for that, seems too likely to jam on the red and kind of set up a pocket, then I think you peel the guard. The other shot, the hack weight with in-turn, I can't really see that doing much good. The tap for Philip Hosesli will just be too easy, kind of the same shot again.
Clean. Whoa.
I think that this is a good call, unless you liked the double in the house.
Move your broom butt.
Ooh.
Good.
It's good enough.
Maybe you should have swept that and got it by and made the double instead.
Yeah, exactly. That was very close to not being made, but removes the guard off the center. And just a quick score update. Michael Brunner had a really flat, tough double on his last one in 6. Unfortunately missed it, and that gave Ross White an open draw for 3. So Ross White now leading that game 5-2. Brunner with the hammer in 7.
Also wenn wir jetzt langsam spielen. Das ist nichts anderes als das. Schnell? Schnell bis 10 Minuten. Also wie denn aber so in die Seiten rein oder das da?
So here, decision for Hosesli. Same thing. You can tap the yellow, just tap it up a couple of inches farther, and then you are very, very likely to get the force. But that's very risky. If you tap it too much and open it up, there might be a double or triple for more than 2 points even. Basically loss of game. The other option would be to come off the side 8-foot one to make an in-off and that way sit shot rock for sure and kind of ask the question of Mike. Potentially get a steal in this end, but same thing, if you don't make it, if you hit it a little thick, the double is there for 3.
So they're playing the in-off here, looks like.
I think it is the tap, but I'm not sure.
Oh, the tap, okay. Oh,
I'm not sure. It's
kind
of
the in-turn, so...
Yeah, it certainly is the in-off.
The in-off,
You are correct, mister.
Like you said, I'm not as stupid as some people think I am. Oh, you said that off air.
Oh, man, I thought it was on air.
Final stone. Philip Hosesli trying to get shot. Wow, how about that? Gets rid of both red stones out of the 4-foot and lies 2. What a phenomenal shot from Philip Hosesli.
I think this is a nose hit for 4.
You think so?
Yeah,
okay.
It looks not automatic, but for a player like Mike, out-turn close to center line, I think this might be the game right here. But at the same time, he can't afford to miss-hit this ever so slightly. They're close together, but anything high side, then they plant it to give up a steal of 2. And if they paper that red, it might not be enough. They might just miss the middle yellow, and that's a steal of 2 as well. So definitely not without risk, but if you can hit this dead on the nose, I think they have 4 points on the board.
So a big shot here for Mike McEwen, trying to match his counterpart across the sheet. It is a triple for 4.
Close. Close. Whoa. Whoa. Yeah. Whoa. Yeah.
Sounds close.
No.
Sounds close. Go. Will it move far enough? Moves it just far enough to score 1. Really close from Mike McEwen, but they'll take it, and they'll take a 2-point lead into the 7th.
I would have loved to throw harder, but I didn't want to lose. No, you can't. I was like,
there's a place where the world's best curling not only lives, it rocks. Download the new Grand Slam of Curling app and live stream all the action. Get exclusive content, stats, merch, and more. Let's rock.
So Mike McEwen very close to handshakes in that sixth end, had a potential shot for 4, just missing it by about a half an inch. And I was most intrigued actually by a comment that Mike made coming out of the sixth end there. He said he didn't want to throw it any harder. He wanted to give the rock a chance to make it. And, you know, obviously if he had thrown it harder and hit it in the same spot that he did, it would have been for 4. You know, what do you make of that comment, Nicholas? You kind of like that, keeping some control, or would you have just bombed it down there and said, screw it, let's go for 4 here?
I think he threw enough weight, though, for it still to be there for 4. I think if it curls just half an inch more, hits the middle one thinner, they're still going to get 3 or 4. So I like his weight call there, kind of the precision was more important than the speed. He can throw it all the speed in the world. If he hits it slightly high side or slightly low side, they're probably giving up a steal of 2 anyways. So the speed wasn't as important as the precision in that shot, and that's why he kind of elected to bring the sweepers a little bit more into play. And he was super close, but made it well enough to score. So the important thing there was to not give up a steal of 2, and needed a very precise shot, and precise enough to still be well in control in this game.
And Robbie, for Team Hosesli here in this 7th end, are you, you know, if you're on Team Hosesli here, you blowing the doors off to score 2 here? You going buck wild or what?
I think you have to go for your 3.
Yep.
For mine too. I think, yeah, as I've said it a few times now, I think the struggle for them has just been consistency throughout the lineup and just stringing those 2 or 3 or 4 really perfect shots and setting up angles and giving themselves a chance to have something later in the end for multiple points. So I think it's time for them to buckle down and really try to zone in and give themselves a chance.
I totally agree there with going for 3. I think that's kind of the only plan here. If you end up getting just 2 against a team like Mike, you are less than 10% to win this game. You have to give it a chance of scoring 3. If you end up just getting 2, it's not the end of the world. You can still steal for the win, obviously, but it's just such a low percentage. When the ice is good and the team you're playing is hot, making most of their shots, you're not going to steal very often at this level.
Whoa, whoa. Yep. Whoa, whoa. Yep. Hard. 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 Okay.
Nicholas, we heard Mike say from the other end, I love the outturn, but only with normal. What would be the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, good question. I think that's a lot of preference, I guess, and those kind of run backs, it's very individual in my opinion. We've talked about that a lot in our team, and kind of watching Team Mowat and a lot of other teams coming up, like in the recent last few years that are really good at those kind of run backs, using softer weight. Obviously, you bring the miss more into play. It's more risky, but the reward is higher. You bring the sweepers into it a little more, and it's more likely you can stuff it buried. But I think it's very individually. Like even within our team, we like different weights to throw on those kind of run backs when you really want to stick it in the rings. For myself, for example, I I've played kind of like a soft peel 7-second takeout my whole career, and that's kind of been my go-to shot. So even if I have to stick it, I still just like my precision a little better for that weight than to choose a normal. Even if the sweepers come more into play, I just don't have the same accuracy with that weight, and you take the guessing of how much it's going to curl into it a little more.
Yeah,
for me, it would be a 7-second for most of those type of shots. But for other players, they like to a normal or even way softer than that and bring the sweepers into play. So you get good at what you choose to play often as well. So the teams that play them softer, they get better at that. If I would choose to play it softer, I would probably not make as many because I'm more used to playing the 7 seconds.
Straight! Whoa! 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 Whoa!
Good.
Nice shot there from Kevin Marsh.
Yeah.
I don't see that. It's not straight. Yeah.
Schwaller in a bit of trouble in their game against Muskatovic here.
Yes, they are.
3 red ones on the tee line, well spread out. Might give up the 3 in the 7th end here, but we'll see how that goes.
So Hosesli and House are just trying to lean on that one. Doesn't quite get to where they wanted that one for Simon Glore. And again, like you said, Robbie, it's just been a little bit about consistency for Team Hosesli here this afternoon. They haven't quite had the form all the way up and down the lineup in really any end. They haven't really had one end where you could say they made all 8 shots.
Yeah, and it's not like we're picking on one player. It's not like there's been one that's been struggling. They haven't played that bad. It's just been like a 6.5, 7 shots out of 8 most ends, and that one they miss seems to be crucial. So timing is not on their side. Hey.
I think looking at the ends too, I think going the other way, they had a couple of under curls when they tried to freeze in the last end, but going this way, they've had a few short ones. We had Philip Hosesli miss the rings short a couple of ends ago, and now again fully swept the whole way, kind of missing it short. So I don't know if there's a difference on the sides or if it's just them playing them a little differently. But they've certainly had similar types of mistakes going this way. Quite a few of them have ended up short, coming this direction.
In a button.
A chance to get buried here. Team Hosesli. Put a little bit of pressure on Team McEwen at least.
4. Länge super. 4 bis 10. System. Innen 4. Innen 4.
Now switching to try and go around that rock instead.
So they just tap off again. Yeah, the weight control on draws has evaded Marco Hosesli this afternoon. Just hasn't quite had the touch when he's needed it.
And that is usually his bread and butter. He's really good at the draw weights and the short little tap backs and such. This game, he hasn't been at his best. Hard to tell also if that's a E problem or if it's a little bit trickier than it looks, the ice conditions. We haven't seen quite as many missed draws from Team McEwen, but there have been a couple of short ones from them too. Maybe there are some patches that are just a little slower also.
Mistake on this one.
That's really nice from Colton Flash. Right on top of that yellow, effectively canceling those out for the moment. McEwen lies 1.
Gut für mich.
Maschine, Kontakt oder nicht? Gut. Okay.
Also das da, wenn es geht, wäre auch gut, aber fast nicht da. Gut.
What's that?
Yep.
What's that?
Yep. In. Yep. Yep.
What's that?
Simon Glord, yeah, trying to hold this one, but this is all over the top.
Super.
I actually think
they're
that's,
trying that, yeah.
That's what they were playing for. Not sure if that was the best option. I kind of felt like they have to move that freeze around a little bit before it's too late. But having it roll on top of it, kind of frozen on the angle like that, it definitely wasn't the worst result.
Yeah. Try hitting forward into here, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't think they're hurt.
Might as well block this because he's going to come in.
Okay. Board?
You can nose the back one too.
Could.
This one is the one he's going to use, though, right?
Board?
So, Mike, this is going to actually finish, I think, right?
Should.
This should finish. Take too much time here. You like this? Yeah, shot is
Both teams not necessarily in time crisis, but they're into the 3 minutes and only one timeout each.
Most is everything's too. Let's make this good then.
What's the way called?
Board. You like the ice?
I do.
And Mike still has 2 rocks to play, so they definitely don't have a lot of time. A little bit stressful, got to make a good decision and fast.
So your board weight here, just looking to chap off of this yellow into the pile.
Yep. Whoa. Curl. Whoa. Straight. Straight. Whoa. Curl. It's good. Whoa.
It's close.
Shot.
That's pretty good. Nestles in there, and Team McEwen lies 3.
I think that's pretty good.
I'm guessing he might have liked that to roll a little less. Take away this freeze.
Kind of the problem for Hosesli is though that even if they freeze this close to perfectly, it's probably going to be possible to force it out of there.
Wenn wir den Freeze perfekt machen und einen leicht ausgebreicht löst.
It's frozen on the middle red. You will be able to just hit it hard, so not just the middle red and then kind of goes around the horn. And if it's just frozen onto the back red without touching the middle red, then you're probably going to be able to hit the nose with some weight. Very difficult to make this freeze good enough for Mike not to have a shot to get rid of it.
First rock for Philip Hosesli here in end number 7. Needs to make it perfect, and as Nicholas Adine says, that still may not be good enough. Little chap, little roll, and to your point, Nick, I don't think that's the one.
Yeah. Oh, no,
that looks like it goes for fun, and Mike might actually be able to lie 4 in the forefoot here.
I think it's super easy to just make these 2 yellows
It's not
fly.
like that other out
I think here you got such a good opportunity. I think you want to take just a little bit of time, mainly for the one in the house. Like Mike has to go to the hack to throw it because they don't have a lot of time. But you need to be fairly specific with this and really make it almost impossible for Hosesli to score here.
Last. Okay. Good.
If this is made, I'm not sure what the options are going to be like for Hosesli to try and score. Less that one in the back of the button between those 2 yellows, that redstone moves. I don't know how he's going to get to the button.
Probably going to have to be a bomb of some sort, or maybe even if there is a little bit of a crouch, but that's
Girl.
depends so much on exactly where this stops.
Shot.
How about that?
Like that.
It might be a nose hit or just a slight roll towards the center line, make the triple to score your one. If you would
anyway, all four of them go?
Yeah.
Does the triple score one, though?
Yeah, I think the triple scores one. If you can roll just a little bit left, but it's going to be tight. I'm not 100% sure, but if you can roll it just like 2 inches towards the center line, the rock will also move downwards just that ½ inch. But I think it's there. If that last shot from Mike would have rolled 1 inch less, then I don't think there is a shot for one.
So we'll see if Philip Hosesli has a little bit of magic in his bag of tricks here. Needs to get rid of 4 Mike McEwen stones. Trying to score 2. And unfortunately can only get rid of 3. Leaves 1 in the forefoot for Mike McEwen, and that will be a steal of 1. They take a 5-2 lead into the 8th.
I've stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on,
every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance, pushing limits,
seizing victory.
When victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
Sweep for T. Line's holding for you. Yeah. Gotta go. Line's great.
An uphill climb ahead here for Team Hosesli in end number 8. They trail Mike McEwen 5-2. They do have the hammer, but they will need to score 3 to force an extra. John Cullen alongside Nicholas Edin and Robbie Doherty here for this 6th draw, the second game for both of these teams here at the Coyote National. Mike McEwen looking to improve to 2-0, and Marco Hosesli trying to avoid dropping to 0-2. And so we do see the first rock in the forefoot for Mike McEwen, the corner guard up for Team Hosesli, and I think we're going to see a potential chip into the rings here for Dan Marsh. Over in the Muskatovitz and Schwaller game, as our esteemed colleague Nicholas Edin did suggest, it was a multiple score for...
Great shot.
Wow, really good from Dan Marsh.
Shot.
Nice try.
Yeah, just a decent try there. It's going to be even harder for Hosesli to score 3 here, but Muskatovitz did get 2 there in that 7th end, so they lead 6-5. Schwaller with the hammer. Rachel Holman scoring 2 in end number 7 to take a 6-3 lead, and perhaps some developing news in the curling world here. I don't know if the two of you have noticed, but Jennifer Jones sitting on the coaching bench for Rachel Holman. No word on whether or not that's a permanent move or not, but certainly if that's a team up between Jen and Rachel, that could be a very powerful combo.
Yeah, she's just sitting there chilling.
She got lost on the way to the Jackpot City Lounge.
Free seats available.
So yeah, we'll see if we can get some more news on that, whether that's a permanent move or not. But I'm being told for now it's at least this game. That's all we know. She's behind the bench right at the moment.
Curl. Good.
Jennifer Jones certainly made some magic in this building almost 20 years ago. The in-off to win the Scotties Tournament of Hearts. One of the greatest curling shots of all time.
Probably didn't need to
Good
sit.
memories here at the Mary Brown Center for her.
I think it's the second best shot of all time.
Now Karen's going to be blowing up my phone.
Yeah, the first one was the Hackner double.
Yeah.
And we do have our first final out here as Ross White winning by the same score he won by yesterday. He was 7-2 winners over Marco Hosesli, and he makes it a Swiss double here this afternoon, beating Michael Brunner 7-2. So that round of applause you hear is for the team from Stirling, Scotland. Ross White moving to 2-0, and Michael Brunner will fall to 0-2. Had a good chance to hang out with Team White yesterday. We got a full St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador experience. We went out to the Battery, had a amazing meal cooked for us in a old fishing cottage right on the water. It was a really tremendous experience. You'll be able to see that feature on the Grand Slam of Curling's YouTube page later this week.
Did you get screeched in, John?
Last night, yes, there was a whole group of us. That didn't happen there, but last night it's a whole group of curlers that went to the embassy and got screeched in, and it was quite the experience. They had a full guy was in a full sailing or fishing outfit, had the cap and the whole wetsuit on, a paddle, everything. We sang some songs, all got screeched in. It was myself and Team Homan, Team Schuster, Team Crake. I believe Bendik Ramsfjell was there as well. It was a whole experience. So yeah, it was a good time for sure. I kissed the cod.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Did you have the bologna?
I did have the bologna, which was not my favorite part of it.
It's never my favorite part.
Yeah, but yeah.
What was your favorite part of it?
Oh, none of it, to be honest with you. Other than just being able to say I got screeched in. Most of it's, well, okay, the singing and the camaraderie is very fun. The spirit of it is very fun. Everything you have to eat and drink is part of it, and you have to kiss a fish is bad.
That cod has been around.
Yeah, no question about it. Yeah, and I guess hopefully my wife's not tuning in, but did kiss a fish last night. Have you been screeched in before?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
During the 2017 Briar, if I don't remember it wrong.
You were here just hanging out? And
yeah.
Nicholas, I think we were screeched in together.
Maybe, yeah.
I think we were there together.
Now when you mention it.
Yep.
I don't remember much. I didn't want to remember it, but now I kind of do.
It's all coming back.
I'm in the same boat, and I didn't want to say it, but when in Rome.
Yeah, a lot of people do call St. John's the Rome of Canada.
Yeah.
So this is not looking ideal here for Team Hosesli. They're running out of time. They only have 3 stones remaining. They're also running out of time on the time clock, down to 1:20 with only 1 timeout. Trying to get something going, but that opening tick from Dan Marsh really making it tough for them to ever get a chance to score 3 here.
And that's kind of an interesting change in tactics for some of the teams now, starting to use the center line and the no-tick rule. Instead of playing 2 corners, the traditional way to try and get 3 points, because of that tick, if it's made, you're basically dead in the water. So some teams elect to play 2 center guards, even though you have hammer, just to avoid the tick happening. I'm not really sure which one I like best, hoping for a missed tick or playing the center line, and just you can certainly score 3 that way too, but it's not going to be straightforward.
Well, and I think, we talk about the no-tick rule, which was designed because leads have gotten so good, and the corner guard tick is easier for a lead. There's a lot more margin for error. I mean, certainly Dan made it about as good as you could, but, there's lots of ways to make it. So, yeah, it's tough to know, but maybe the center guards will be the way to go in the future. And this could be the final stone of the game here for Mike McEwen, trying to run his red back. If he can get rid of both yellows, that would seal it. Don't have to go too aggressive for it, obviously, but it may just happen. Got to make sure you get one of the yellows, though. And he will. Does he get the second one? It just hangs on. So now Hosesli will be able to say, well, we made him throw his last one.
So you're telling me there is a chance?
There is a chance. There is a chance.
Just gonna bring the sand out of your pockets here. Mike's last.
Yeah.
I think to that tick shot being made, it's a lot about the ice conditions too. If the ice is kind of too good to miss the tick, you probably shouldn't let them have that opportunity. But if it's a little frosty on the edges or a little slower, then that tick can definitely go wrong as well.
So the final stone comes to rest. Mike McEwen will call a timeout with his last, but certainly no need for Brent Lang to get out of his chair on the coach's bench, as this will just be an open hit for the win. Would bring Mike McEwen to 2-0 and set him up for his prior final rematch tomorrow night. I think that'll be one of the hottest tickets in town, as it'll be Brad Gushue and Mike McEwen facing off in prime time, 8 p.m. tomorrow night, local time, here at the Mary Brown Center.
You think Brent would have made the right decision if they would have called him out there?
I think you guys should hit the other one, actually. I think, why are you hitting this one? Hit the other one. Both
You're not
stones
getting
are
shot
open.
this way.
Yeah, exactly. So final stone for Mike McEwen, and very likely the final stone of the game. Just needs to make this Hosesli stone disappear. And that will, Mike's not even looking at it. So
too cool for school.
Too cool for school, and he took Team Hosesli to school here this afternoon. Comfortable 5-2 winners. So Team McEwen will improve to 2-0. Marco Hosesli will drop to 0-2. We'll be back here at 4 p.m. local time in just under 2 hours from now. We'll have Brad Gushue against Reed Carruthers, and there's a rumor that there may be a second game commentated as well. You won't want to miss it here on Home Team Live. For Nicholas Adine, Robbie Doherty, the whole team at Home Team, I am John Cullen. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you back here very soon. Goodbye.